Okay, so have you ever felt like just completely worn out?
Oh, yeah.
Like totally running on fumes, no
Absolutely.
matter how much sleep you get,
Yeah.
and maybe even your vision's getting a little blurry, you're feeling unsteady on your feet,
hmm
and you go to the doctor and they tell you it's fibromyalgia,
Oh, yeah.
chronic stress, right?
Right.
But what if I told you all of those kind of random symptoms could actually be pointing to one fundamental thing that's going on inside your body?
It very well could be. And that thing that we're talking about is called methylation.
Mm,
Now, methylation might sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but really all it is this like ongoing process that's happening inside every single one of your cells.
okay.
And one of the big players in methylation is your liver.
The liver. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like this constant, ongoing cellular process happening in your brain, your liver, everywhere.
That's right.
And it's kind of like tackling these really important jobs. Like we're not talking about just minor tweaks here.
No, we're talking about big things. So, for instance, methylation is what's responsible for managing your DNA properly.
Whoa. Yeah.
And your DNA is like the blueprint for your entire body.
Right.
So getting that right is really important if you want to prevent serious health problems down the line,
Okay.
but also if you want to build new healthy tissues.
Interesting.
So if your methylation is off and your DNA is not managed well, it can have like surprising consequences for how your cells function and even replicate.
Wow. So that's just on a like structural, physical level.
Right.
What about things like, our mood, how we feel on a daily basis?
Yeah. Well, methylation is also responsible for creating key neurotransmitters. So you've probably heard of dopamine and serotonin.
I have heard of those, yeah.
Those are the things that really affect your mood and your overall happiness.
Right.
And if methylation is off, that can contribute to feelings of low mood. It might not just be in your head.
Yeah.
It might actually be rooted in like how effectively your body's carrying out this process of methylation.
That's really interesting because we often just think like, oh, I'm in a bad mood because of this or that.
Right.
But it's actually happening on this deeper cellular level.
It is. It is. And then another interesting thing about methylation is its role in like recycling your hormones, especially the sex hormones.
Okay.
So your body's constantly trying to prevent the buildup of what we might call cellular waste. And so methylation makes sure that these hormones get processed properly
Okay.
and they don't accumulate and cause problems in the body.
So it's like an internal recycling program to keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, it's involved in our detoxification processes
Yes,
and our immune system.
very much so.
So methylation is doing a lot.
It's a busy process, but when it's not working well, we call that poor methylation.
Okay.
And one thing that can happen when you have poor methylation is neuroinflammation. So basically your brain gets inflamed,
Wow.
and that can lead to brain fog and extreme fatigue. And you can even have trouble sleeping even though you're exhausted.
Oh, that's the worst.
It is.
When you're like so tired, but you can't switch off.
Right, because your brain is inflamed and it can't settle down at night.
Right. And you mentioned earlier the liver being a key player in all of this.
Yes. The liver is central to detoxification
Okay.
through methylation. And it's working constantly along with your kidneys and lungs and even your skin to clear out toxins from your body.
So that deep sleep that we talk about all the time,
Yes,
it's not just about feeling good the next day.
that's right.
It's actually allowing your liver and your brain to regenerate
Exactly.
and the lymphatic system to do its job.
That's right. It's like a cleaning cycle that happens overnight.
Wow.
And if your methylation is off, then it can affect that cleaning cycle.
So are there other kind of far-reaching effects of methylation or things that it's involved in?
Well, methylation is also involved in pain management.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now, when you feel pain, that's your body sending a signal to you that something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
But then what happens is your brain kind of interprets that signal. And if your system is under stress, that pain can get amplified. And so you can feel like you're constantly in danger.
Right.
And methylation is also involved in the repair processes that happen after that initial pain signal.
Okay.
So if your methylation is not efficient, those repairs might not happen as quickly.
Interesting. So if you're feeling like generally unwell and achy and tired, it could be a sign that your body's trying to repair itself
Exactly.
through this process of methylation.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy to repair.
Right.
So if your methylation is not working well,
Yeah.
you might feel even more tired.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And that's actually one of the reasons why people with fibromyalgia often have a lot of pain,
Oh, wow.
because Their methylation is not efficient and their bodies are constantly trying to repair.
Oh, so it's almost like the body's always trying to get back to a state of balance using methylation.
Yes, very much so. Methylation is how your body builds resilience
Right.
and tries to overcome problems.
So the big question here is, like, why might my methylation not be working as well as it should be?
Yeah, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is genetics.
Oh, okay.
So basically your genetic blueprint, which is kind of like the instruction manual for your body.
Right.
And sometimes there are little variations in those instructions.
Okay.
We call this polymorphism.
Polymorphisms.
And these polymorphisms can affect how well your body carries out methylation.
Interesting. So is there a specific one that you see a lot that affects methylation?
Yeah, there's one called MTHFR.
MTHFR. Okay.
Methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is.
But basically, it's a key enzyme in the methylation pathway.
Okay.
And variations in the gene that makes this enzyme are pretty common. And those variations can affect how efficiently your body does methylation.
So some of us are just like born with a slightly less efficient version of that part of the process.
That's right. Now, the entire methylation cycle, if we really wanted to break it down, is pretty complex. It involves a whole cascade of steps and enzymes. But we can maybe save that for a future deep dive.
Another time.
Yeah.
Okay, so genetics is one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
What's the other one?
The other piece is epigenetics.
Okay.
And basically, epigenetics is the study of how your lifestyle habits can affect how your genes are expressed.
Okay.
Including the genes that are involved in methylation.
Got it.
So even if you have a genetic variation that makes methylation a little more challenging for you, you can still support it with your lifestyle choices.
So like even if you're predisposed to having some trouble with methylation, you can support it with the way you live your life.
Absolutely.
So that's good news.
Yeah, it is.
So what are some of those things that we can actually do?
So the most important thing is to really focus on your daily habits.
Okay.
And those are things like conscious eating.
Okay.
Making sure you're getting enough nutrients in your diet.
Right.
You also want to overcome a sedentary lifestyle. So make sure you're getting enough physical activity.
Okay.
And of course, getting enough sleep.
Right. 8 hours.
At least 8 hours. And managing your stress. Because chronic stress can really put a burden on your body.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one thing that people often overlook is getting out in nature and getting some sunlight.
Yeah.
These things can really affect how your genes are expressed.
So these aren't just like general recommendations. They actually affect methylation on a cellular level.
Exactly.
Now, earlier you mentioned a marker that we can actually look at in blood tests.
Yes.
To see how well methylation is working.
Right, and that marker is called homocysteine.
Homocysteine.
And homocysteine is basically a byproduct of the methylation process. And it's easy to measure in a blood test.
Got it.
And it's particularly interesting because it's linked to cardiovascular health.
Okay.
So if you have high levels of homocysteine, that can actually damage the lining of your blood vessels.
So it's something we want to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
What would be considered like a healthy level of homocysteine?
Ideally, you want to be somewhere between 6 and 10.
Okay.
But it's important to note that both high and low levels can be a problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so high levels suggest that methylation isn't happening efficiently, and you're getting a buildup of this byproduct.
Right.
But low levels can sometimes indicate other imbalances in the cycle.
Interesting. So it needs to be just right.
That's right.
Not too high, not too low.
Right.
Now, you know, we talk a lot about B vitamins being important for energy and things like that.
Yeah.
Do they play a role in methylation?
They do, yeah. So certain B vitamins are very important for methylation, particularly B12, B6, and B9, which is also known as folate.
Right.
And these B vitamins are what we call cofactors in the methylation cycle. So they basically help the enzymes that are involved in methylation to do their job. Okay. And if you have methylation issues, sometimes it's helpful to take what we call methylated forms of these B vitamins.
Methylated forms of
So, for example, methylcobalamin, which is a methylated form of B12.
Got it.
And methylfolate, which is the active form of B9.
Right.
And these forms are helpful because they bypass some of the steps in the methylation cycle.
Okay.
That might not be working as well.
Got it.
So it's kind of like giving your body the tools it needs
in
a more readily usable form.
Makes sense.
Yeah, man.
Now, how about our stomach and intestines?
Mm-hmm.
What role do they play in all of this?
Well, they play a really important role in nutrient absorption,
Okay.
especially for B12.
Okay.
So your stomach produces something called intrinsic factor.
It's intrinsic factor. Okay.
And intrinsic factor is essential for B12 to be absorbed
Okay.
in your small intestine.
Got it.
So if you have a problem with your stomach,
Yeah.
you might not be absorbing enough B12,
Even if you're supplementing.
even if you're supplementing.
Wow, that's an important point.
It is. And then, of course, we have to talk about the liver again.
Liver, yeah.
Because it plays such a key role in detoxification.
Right. It's doing a lot of work.
It is. So are there things we can do to support it?
Yeah. What can we do to help the liver out?
Well, one thing is glutathione,
Glutathione. Okay.
ideally in a liposomal form.
Okay.
And glutathione is a powerful antioxidant.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important for liver detoxification.
Okay.
And then there's NIC,
NIC.
N-acetylcysteine,
Okay.
which is a precursor to glutathione.
Got it.
And that can also help support the liver.
Okay.
And then there are omega-3 fatty acids,
Okay.
which have been shown to have beneficial effects on the liver as well.
So making sure we're eating those good, healthy fats.
Exactly.
What about the gut?
Mm-hmm.
Like we hear so much about leaky gut.
Yeah.
Does that affect methylation?
It does. So leaky gut,
Okay.
which is also known as intestinal hyperpermeability,
Right.
can definitely have a negative impact on methylation.
Okay.
And basically what happens is that the lining of your intestines
Yeah.
becomes more permeable.
Okay.
And that means that things that shouldn't be getting into your bloodstream
Yeah.
can get in,
Right.
like toxins.
Okay.
But it also means that you're not absorbing nutrients as well.
So you're getting the bad stuff and not the good stuff.
Exactly. It's a double whammy.
Right. Right.
And those toxins can then interfere with methylation.
So we've got all this waste building up
Mm-hmm.
because of inefficient methylation.
Right.
We've got DNA that might not be getting managed properly.
Yeah.
We've got neurotransmitters and hormones that are imbalanced.
Right.
Like what happens in the long term?
Well, in the long term. Yeah.
All of this can contribute to what we call cellular senescence,
Cellular senescence. Okay.
which is basically the aging of your cells.
Yeah.
And that can increase your risk of developing serious health problems
Oh, wow.
down the line.
Okay.
And we also can't forget the kidneys,
The kidneys. Right.
which are responsible for filtering out the waste products
Okay.
from methylation.
So we've got to keep our kidneys healthy, too.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned earlier antioxidants
Yes.
in the context of methylation.
Right. So antioxidants are important for neutralizing free radicals,
Okay.
which are produced during detoxification.
Right.
And some key antioxidants that can support methylation are vitamin C, vitamin E, and astaxanthin.
Astaxanthin. Now, didn't we do a whole deep dive on astaxanthin a while back?
We did.
Yeah.
And astaxanthin is really interesting because it's so good for the gut-brain connection.
Right. And we know now that that's all tied into methylation.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll put a link in the resources for anyone who wants to go back and listen to that
That's
episode.
a good idea.
So just to kind of bring it all together,
Mm-hmm.
we've got this process, methylation, that's happening all the time inside of us.
Right.
And it affects everything,
It does.
from how much energy we have,
Yeah.
to our mood,
Mm-hmm.
to our long-term health.
Absolutely.
So even if you're just feeling a little bit tired,
yeah,
it could be a sign that your methylation is off.
it could be.
And if you leave it unchecked,
Yeah,
it can lead to bigger problems.
it can.
So what can someone listening do if they think their methylation might not be working as well as it should be?
Well, the first thing I would say is to talk to your doctor.
Always a good idea.
Always a good idea.
Yeah.
But there are some specific blood tests you can ask for,
Okay.
like your liver enzyme levels,
Okay.
which can give you an idea of how well your liver is functioning.
Right.
And we know the liver is really important for methylation.
It is.
And then there's the homocysteine test,
Right. We talked about that.
which we talked about. Yeah.
Are there other more in-depth tests that people can look at?
Yeah. So if you want to really dig deep,
Yeah.
there's the active B12 test,
Okay.
which can tell you how much B12 your body is actually using,
Okay.
as opposed to just how much is in your blood.
Got it.
And then there are organic acid tests,
Okay.
which look at different metabolic pathways, including methylation.
Right.
And then there's the stool microbiome analysis,
Okay.
which looks at the bacteria in your gut,
Mm-hmm.
which we know is also important for nutrient absorption.
Right.
And then finally, there are mitochondrial function tests,
Okay.
which look at the health of your mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of your cells.
Right.
And those were also linked to methylation.
So there's a lot of different options if someone wants to really explore.
There are.
But I think the takeaway here
Yeah.
is that even if you do all the testing, the most important thing is those lifestyle choices
Absolutely.
that we talked about.
Right. Making sure you're eating well,
Yeah.
exercising, getting enough sleep,
Right.
managing your stress.
Right.
Those are the things that are really going to make a difference.
Yeah. It seems like it always comes back to the basics.
It does.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
It has.
Like, my mind is blown
I know. It's fascinating.
just to think about this process, methylation, happening all the time
Yeah.
inside of us and how much it affects us
Yeah.
on a daily basis
Right.
and in the long term.
It is incredible.
So for everyone listening out there, we've talked about how important methylation is to so many different processes in your body.
Yeah.
So what's one small change you can make today to start supporting your methylation?
Yeah. What can you do to improve this vital system in your body?
I think that's a great question to leave everyone with.
I do too.
So thanks for listening, everyone,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye.